Hello, and welcome back to Safe Space. This is a show that's dedicated to people of color in the LGBTQIA+ community. Every week, I try to bring you a new guest that will share their amazing journeys, and this week is no different. Now, he is no stranger. He's a friend. He is also a co-host with me on the conference call. Ladies and gentlemen, he goes by one name, two letters, TJ. What's up, TJ? How you doing?
What's going on?
So I'm glad you agreed to come on and share your story with us today.
I'm scared.
Why?
I don't know.
This is a safe space.
Oh, okay. Hence the name.
Yes, this is a safe space. And on top of it, you are the first guest on season 2 of Safe Space.
Ooh.
So that's another big thing right there.
Look at that. It feels appropriate.
Yes, it does. It does. All right. So listen, what we'd like to try to do is to let people in on your story, your journey, how you've gotten to this place in your life. Now, as we're friends, so I know kind of a lot of the backstory, but I really want you to be able to share your story. And there was something that really intrigued me that I saw that you had actually put on your feed. So in all transparency, you have a YouTube channel and you have a show called Tweet, and you had actually responded to a show that you had watched, Jared Carmichael. And something you said in there just kind of really struck a chord with me, and I really wanted you to be able to share this story. So, but before we get to that portion of it, I want you to take us back to, as we like to call you, baby gay TJ. Talk about your story and when it is you came to terms that you knew that you were a little bit different and that you stuck out a little bit.
Ooh, we only got an hour.
Yes.
Okay. So honestly, I don't even know if I've ever talked about this online before. Because I talk about a lot of stuff online, but I don't know if I've actually really gone into detail. So I guess for me, it started in 8th grade. Well, let's just say middle school. I noticed probably around 6th or 7th grade that I had a crush on a boy, and his name was Raven, and he was this beautiful, dark-skinned boy. And so he was my first kind of, I guess, real life boy crush. Mind you, again, this is middle school. And again, middle school age, you're starting to come into hormones you're going into adolescence and hormones are starting to run. So you're actually now thinking about this type of thing like crushes and attraction and blah, blah, blah. So around that time, I noticed that, but then I also was like, oh, wait, but I'm kind of supposed to like girls. So I guess to kind of shorten the story, I thought I was bisexual at first. 8th grade, I think I told maybe my cousin or something that was also a good friend of mine and classmate that I was bisexual. And that was, again, because I started noticing my attraction to boys, but also I had some kind of girl crushes. Girl crushes were really just girls in my classroom that I thought were pretty. That was it. I was like, oh my gosh, she's really pretty. So I was like, oh, I must have a crush on her. So fast forward to high school is when I guess officially came out truthfully as gay, or really understood that I was gay and not bisexual at all. This was 10th grade, I think. So I had a really close circle of girl friends. And one of them I had maybe 2 really close friends. One was a best friend at the time. And then I had some another small circle of girlfriends, and we would so we each had, it was 4 of us, 3 or 4 of us, and we each had a notebook, right? And those were like our ways of communicating with each other, but also kind of like our journals. And so like we would write different things in our notebooks. And like if there was something I wanted to say to my friend Courtney or to my friend Pam or whatever, like in passing, I would give her my notebook or she would give me hers. And then in passing again, we would swap them again so that we could like read the notebooks or whatever. But it was also a way of just kind of like telling each other like things that have happened. Like, I got a crush on so and so, or I think so and so is really cute, or whatever. So yeah, like I said, around ninth or 10th grade, certain like musical artists and songs started to speak to me. Um, this is such a random example, but like this song by Prozac, I think it's called Be As. One of them is be as one of the lyrics is be as straight as you want to, be as gay as you want to. And I was like, oh, that sounds right. And then I think Pink had a song that really spoke to me at the time. Again, this was early 2000s. So I was like, I'm gonna come out. I feel like that's right. I feel like that's what I'm supposed to do. So one day I came out to two people. I came out to my best friend Paige and I came out to my good friend Melissa. I think one period after the other. So one time, one in one class, and then the very next class I came out to the other. Um, and that's kind of it was from there. It was like I was out. I was out to all of my friends, most of my friends, but I never came out per se to family, though I am out now. And that's a whole different story. And we may want to get into that. I won't get into it right now. But
Right.
like the start of like little baby gay TJ.
Okay, so baby gay TJ was really out and loud, proud in 10th grade. But I want to go back a little bit because you said that you really started to understand who you were like 6th and 7th grade. And I found something very striking what you said. You said you identified as bisexual then. Like you had those words and you understood what it meant. And the reason why I find that very fascinating is because myself, when I was in grade school, I knew that I was different. I didn't have those words, those technical words to self-identify. And a lot of other people that I've interviewed, especially in like season one, I think we're a little bit like me, where we didn't have those words to truly identify what it is we thought we were. We knew we were different, but we didn't have the words. So for you to have those words, I think it says a lot. And I think also, the kids that are growing up now, it's so much easier for them. And I think that you kind of had that same path where it was easy for you to be able to say, hey, this is who I am. I know who I am, and I'm just okay with it, you know?
I yes. One thing that I have just noticed about like different generations is how early children are able to understand and identify their either gender expression or sexuality. And so I noticed like the generations that came before me, they tend to come out, or they tend to have come out later in life because they maybe didn't have the visibility or the vocabulary for what their experience was. And the ones that are younger than me are coming out. Like I remember being in college and like maybe like junior or senior year, and like new incoming freshmen from high school were more out and visible than I was. And I was just like, and that's a good thing, mind you. It's like the earlier generations, the younger generations are able to, they have more knowledge, they have more resources, and more visibility, so that they don't have to go through all of those years of being in the dark or not having the vocabulary for what it is that they feel. Secondly, like I honestly, the reason that I said I was bi at first was because it felt safer. It was like, at least I can say I'm bi. I still like girls. You know what I mean? So it was it was half of, yes, I thought I was bi, but also half of like, well, I can't be full on gay because that's just a lot. That's a whole lot. So at least let me say I'm a bi, so that I still like girls.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. Because you claim to identify as bisexual earlier on, Did you date women at a
No,
younger age,
no,
like through high school? No.
absolutely not.
Okay.
No, the so I consider myself a platinum star gay.
Okay.
Now, a gold star gay is one who has never like had sex with a woman. A platinum star gay is one that was birthed via cesarean. And so I've had zero experience. I've had zero experience with the female form, or that part of the female form. The most experience I have had is one day in high school. Me and my good friend Ashley, I think it was Ashley, we were walking to our bus. Somehow, some rumor had gotten started that like we were dating or something, and somebody on one of the buses said, "Oh, y'all been dating? Why don't y'all kiss?" And we turned and we looked at each other, and it was like we read each other's mind. We was like, let's give them a show. And so we literally like kissed, just peck, and we just kept walking. That is the extent for me. So no,
Okay. Okay.
I've had zero experience.
Gotcha. So now I know that you are a platinum card holding member
Yeah.
of the Gays Society.
Yeah. You know what?
Okay.
In high school, one of my friends actually flashed me. One of my female friends flashed me while we were in a pool one time, and I'm still
Was that
traumatized.
traumatic?
Quite. Because
You,
they were large.
okay. So you're
This,
still
this,
traumatized.
this was a high school girl, and though they were large. So yeah, still traumatized by that.
Okay. Well, at least you can talk to your therapist about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So, all right. You've pronounced who you are in high school. You've gone to college. What does adult platinum card carrying TJ? How does he show up in the world? I think we're going to touch on family, but I want to leave that really to the end because I want to dive into that a little bit more. What is the platinum card adult TJ? How do you show up in the world?
Neurotic. Um, Crazy. um, that's a good question. And I feel like that changes as I get old. It evolves as I get older. Um, for example, last year I started to fully realize this vision that I've always had in my head of wearing heels. I have always loved, so I'm a stylist. And when it comes to like women in shoes, ladies, please don't kill me. I love seeing women in heels. I hate seeing women in flats. I hate seeing women in bad flats, especially a ballet flat. So I love people in heels. It ain't got to be a stiletto, but I like a heel. It does something for your body. It does something for your form. It does something for your stature. And so I have always had this vision of kind of being blurring the lines of gender when it comes to style and fashion. And so last year, year before, I bought my first pair of like heeled boots. And now I have like 3 or 4 pairs of heels. Um, and so more like recently, that's how I've been showing up, at different times. Is sometimes I'll go out in a look with a heel on, which is, more feminine, but heels actually started historically with men. But like I said, over the years, the way fully grown gay TJ shows up has just been different. It's just been me being out. That was kind of how it started, and being just like, I don't know if I want to say unapologetic, but just being open, you know what I mean? Like um not shying away from the fact that I'm gay, not lying about the fact that I'm gay. I like throughout the years, it's been so crazy. From high school to just a couple of months ago, some people that will spend like some time around me who don't know me all that well, but they're getting to know me. They always they will preface the question, "May I ask you a personal question?" And anytime that comes, I'm like, I already know it's gonna come. Are you gay? So I'm like, yes. So it's, to me, it's mostly just like not shying away or not even being afraid to answer that question. And I find a lot of people are afraid to say the word gay. There's typically a um like a pause. There's this pause. I'm very big on observing people and noticing the way they speak. My undergrad is in English and linguistics, so I'm very big on like just really like kind of nitpicking the way people speak. And so typically when someone says the word gay, there is a pause between the word they said before and gay, because it's like they just gay. It's like it's hard for them to get it out. Um, but yeah, I show up as myself, and that evolves every single year, it seems like.
Right. Now, I mean, I know you personally, so I know that you're extremely comfortable in your skin. You have no hesitations about who you are. And when you show up as yourself. I mean, I know you don't like people, period, but
No, no, no,
um,
no, no, no. That's not what I was saying. I was. You were saying I show up. I think I'm very comfortable in my skin. I'm as comfortable as anybody else, which is
yeah.
most people are. We all have our things.
Yes, 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 yes. Um, so let's kind of like dive into the family portion of this, because you're very open, you're very transparent, you're confident in who you are, and like I said, you're confident how you show up, and you don't take disrespect. You're going to be respected for who you are and how you show up. Um, what was it like growing up in a household, knowing who you are and how you identify, and then the conversations with family,
Mm,
mothers and your father and other siblings?
yeah. So this is what I talked about, or got into on my last episode of. I'm not sure when this is coming out, but my last episode of Tweed, um, it was about Gerard Carmichael's reality show. I think it was episode 4, called Road Trip, um, where basically he was having this hard hitting, intense, um, several days long trip and conversation with his dad, um, mainly about him being gay. Well, that experience was so familiar to me because it was similar to my experience with my mom and me coming out. I say coming out in air quotes because it was never. So when I came out in high school, it was never my intention to. I had no plans to like come out to my family. Um, and I don't think it was I don't ever recall like anybody in my family saying anything homophobic or disparaging or getting any kind of messages like that, but I just didn't even want to take the chance. And so like I have always been big on writing. I've always been a writer, and probably I started writing in like middle school. I don't exactly know when it was I started like keeping a journal or a diary, but I had a diary or a journal. And I had written some very personal thoughts. A lot of them were about like these feelings that I was having about boys, or I have a crush on this boy, or I think so and so is so cute or whatever. Well, my mom read my journal one time. Yeah, I have never talked about this, I don't think, online.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so my mom read my journal one day, and the only way that I know, shout out to my dad, the only way that I know that this was happening was my dad gave me a heads up. So I come into I'm sure this was like 16, 17. I was driving at the time. So I come home and I walk through the door, and my dad is like in his big chaise, and as he always was. And I'm walking past him going to my room, and he's like, "You might want to find a different place to find to put your journal." because your mom has been going into your room reading it.
Wow.
So I was like, okay. So shortly after that, I don't know exactly how long it was between me finding out, but shortly after that, my mom basically confronted me, and we had a argument about it. Um, Thankfully, I mentally and emotionally, I was in a place to where I could combat, I could go toe to toe with her, and not be shamed and not be discouraged. Um, so yeah, so she read my journal. She came into my room. She closed the door. She confronted me, and we kind of, it wasn't a screaming match, but we had an argument about it. And I feel like I can remember though that Prozac song and the Pink songs in my head as we're going toe to toe. Um, so yeah, that's how that happened. And I think after that we had another conversation about it, but up until last year, those were the only two conversations that we had about me being gay. Um, Excuse me. My dad and I never, never had a conversation about it. My dad passed away in 2021. We never had a conversation about it. However, I won't say how I know this, but I do know for a fact that he was cool with me being gay. Um, but yeah, we never had a conversation. I have an older brother. We've never talked about it. So I've only literally have had this conversation 3 times, or a conversation about me being gay with my mom 3 times.
So I find this all so fascinating. The fact that you've only had a conversation about it twice with your mother, and the most recent one, what the last time was actually rather recent. I believe it was like late last year or earlier this year, something like that.
It was last year.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then you've never had a conversation with your father, and you've never talked about with your brother. So, I know for me and my story, like it was this whole big thing where it's something that's always not like talked about, but like, I guess it's a little bit different for me because I'm married and, family's a big thing for me. So Ronald is an integral part of all of that. It's like, look, this is the full package. This is what you get.
Mhm.
It's either you accept it or you don't. And, everyone's loving this and accepting of it. And it's, it's, it's always like in the forefront, I guess. And it's interesting to me how you were able to be so open and honest with your friends,
Yeah.
um, but so reserved with your family. Where does that stem from? Is that like just a family trait that you guys didn't necessarily communicate in that way?
So it's twofold. Yes, that part. So uh, my family, the way my parents were raised, as I'm learning as I get older, the way my parents were raised and the way they raised my brother and I, we were never a very emotionally expressive family. Um, and by the way, I just want to like, I hope I'm not painting like my mom and my brother out as like people. They're just
Absolutely
things
not.
they just do not know. These are just things that
Abs-
they just do not know. So
Absolutely not.
in the most innocent sense of the word, they are ignorant. So and so that's, like I said, that's no shade or anything. That's just, when you're ignorant, there are just things that you do not know. Full stop. So um I completely got off track. What was the question?
And I was just asking, like, what was the dynamics with your family?
Oh,
Was
yes. So um we were never any emotionally expressive family. And so it was never, we never had like heart to heart conversations like you would see on, families on TV or whatever. Um it was so, and that was part of the conversation that I had with my mom last year. Like, I basically told her, I was like, you and dad didn't raise us to have conversations that you and I are like these types of conversations that you and I are having right now. And that is why this is so uncomfortable, because it was never really, the family was never, a culture was never created in our family to where you would talk about those heavy things or deep things or talk really openly about your emotions. And so now at 38, mom, I'm having this conversation with you at 60 plus, and it feels really uncomfortable because we've never had this dynamic before. We've never been able to really talk like this before. And
Yeah.
it should not be uncomfortable, but it is, based on that reason. And that's partially why I identify with that episode of Gerard Carmichael, because he was going through that same thing with his dad. Like, his dad was completely willing to never talk about his transgressions, seemingly until the day he died. And so once your offspring, your children, bring this back to you when you had no plans of talking about it, you feel awkward, you feel strange, you feel attacked. But this
Yeah.
is the work that needs to be done.
It's interesting you say that, and all feelings aside of how I feel about Carmichael and the show, there was something really
Yeah.
interesting about that episode where um, he saw the situation one way and his dad saw it another. It's like it was polar opposite. It was like you're in the same situation, but the facts and the results were totally different.
Hmm.
And I feel as though that's kind of where you are with your experience with your parents. Let me ask you this. Do you have any regrets of not having any deeper conversations with your dad and your mom in respects to not even necessarily your sexuality, but like maybe even like relationships that you've been in, wanting to share that with them?
Um, Great question. So re- it's hard to say. It's really hard to say. Um, it would have been nice if, like, things could have been different, but what are you gonna do? I truly feel like everything happens for a reason. The experiences that you have shape you to be, for better or worse, who you are in the moment moving forward. Now, you can learn and grow from those experiences, and change things, but what you go through is how you're going to be shaped. So sure, would it have been nice to be able to share certain things with my parents or with my brother or whatever? Absolutely. But at the same time, it's hard to, feel regret for, for something that just never happened. Um, the second point that I realized that I just forgot to make about, how I came out with friends as opposed to family, was the stakes were lower. The stakes were lower with friends as opposed to family. You know what I mean? And I want to say this is
Yeah,
something I talked to about my therapist a while ago, like probably when I first started seeing her, was it's easier to come out to people that you don't know as well,
yeah,
because you don't have as many ties to those people.
yeah,
So they reject you. Oh, that's sad. But those are they're friends, but friends come and go. These families are people that you've known your whole life, that raised you, that birthed you, that you stay with, that you live with, that you're going to see every day. So the stakes are lower with friends. Therefore, it's easier to come out to them, or at least it was for me.
yeah. Okay, yeah. No, I mean that makes total sense, and I totally understand where you're coming from when it comes to that. Now, I want to talk about how you show up with regards to relationships with friends, with loved ones. What are your takes on marriage or monogamy? Because I think that these are really good topics, and that I think you have a very good perspective that you can share with people. So, kind of open up about that a little bit, if you don't mind.
You might be surprised. I, I actually was not expecting this question. So as of late, Um, family and marriage is something that I can actually see myself with. Now, if you have followed me for, I don't know, more than a year, that might be a shock. Because for basically my whole entire adult life, I have been practically anti all of those things. Um, However, over the last year or so, um, I have been shown differently, and my heart and mind has been kind of shifted or changed a little bit. So, yeah, in the past, like I have, I've had a handful of relationships, literally like a handful, maybe like 4 or 5. Um, None of them ended greatly. But it was none of them, with the exception of maybe one, was ever going to like end possibly in marriage. Um, but yeah, in I never saw myself as that. I never really subscribed to like marriage per se. It just never really, and that's a whole topic for another day, but it just never really made a lot of sense to me at the time. It felt more like marriage to me felt more like a business contract, which it is, as instead of like love. And I felt like people often would say, "Oh, we got married because we loved each other." But my thought process was always, "Well, you didn't have to get married to do that." Again, whole different topic for a whole nother day. But like as of late, like, and I'm sure this comes with me being, late 30s. I can kind of see myself with a partner that's maybe only going to get on my nerves maybe 40% of the time. Um, so yeah, I can kind of see that now. Kids, maybe I have it's convoluted, but yeah,
Ladies and gentlemen, you
I know.
have been
Edit this out. I don't like it.
listening to some breaking, earth-shattering news here. Trust me when I tell you, because that was not the answer that I was expecting
I
at
know.
all.
I know it.
But you know what, though? Listen to me. And it's so funny because I think we've had this conversation
I'm sure.
a while ago where I said, listen, you are an evolving person. I think that your views on certain things will change over time. Never putting any pressure on you. We had that type of rapport, especially between you, I, and Rex. We talk about these things all the time. And Rex and I are married, and you are the consummate and ultimate bachelor who is willing to be just out there. But to hear you say that, I think that all that is growth. I think as we get older, lots of things change for us. Our bodies change, how we see the world changes, how we see other people change. And I
Mhm.
think also it's who we surround ourselves around. You've hung out with Rex and I and our significant others. And I know you have a really good friend that you are around a lot, and he has kids. And I'm sure that has allowed you to see other ways of other lives and other lifestyles. And maybe that's part of your this is part of your journey and part of your growth. So I'm listen, I'm all for whatever you want to do, and I'm just excited for this new aspect of TJ that I'm learning about now. Very interesting.
Oh
So now
God.
you're going to get teased. You're going to get teased.
That's okay.
But
Just know that you won't be invited to the wedding.
oh, wow. Wow. Well, you heard it here first, guys. We'll be right there front and center at the wedding, throwing rice. So TJ, you can actually see yourself being married one day.
Let's not dwell on that. In very specific circumstances, yes. And that's all
Okay.
I'm gonna
All right. Listen, I'll take that. I'll take that.
say.
Um so let's talk about, I don't want to like dive any too deep into like your personal background and history of dating, but like I know that Huh?
You can if you want to. I mean, you know,
Well,
child,
no,
you know, there's
I
very
really,
little I leave.
I really want you to touch on polyamorous relationships because I know that you are very open to that. Explain what it is and talk about what it means for you, or what it has meant for you.
Okay. So 2012 or 13 is when I started identifying as poly. I was in a monogamous relationship at the time. And I was deeply in love with my partner at the time, my boyfriend at the time. And he was deeply in love with me. Um, but I started noticing that in addition to the love that I had for this man, I also was very attracted to other people. And I was like, it doesn't feel right for me to not be attracted to these people. It doesn't feel right for me to deny myself my attraction or my desire to even possibly want to, you know, have something with these people. And so that's basically when I started to identify as poly. Now, I never really had an opportunity to practice being polyamorous in a relationship until 2022, when I met my last ex, and he identified as poly. And so for a couple of months, we were together and poly. Um, and that was a whole entire tornado, which it had less to do about being poly and more to do about I would say a lack of self-love on his part. But um yeah, so for a number of years I identified as poly, and I finally got the opportunity to really be poly in a relationship. Um and so in that relationship, basically, like, he had his freedoms to, you know, sleep with or date or whomever he wanted, and I did as well, which was kind of always like the way I envisioned things. Um, I have recently been going to well, I've gone to like two tapings of this podcast that's here in Nashville, where they do like live tapings at this club that I belong to. And their whole thing is it's a panel of people who operate or practice ethical non-monogamy or consensual non-monogamy. And so it's a panel and they answer questions typically from the audience or their listeners, all about ENM or CNM or polyamory. And in anywhere else, anything else that falls on that spectrum, because as I'm learning, different things fall, you know, on the ethical non-monogamy spectrum, such as swingers, such as monogamish. So there's a lot of different things on that spectrum, and so I'm I'm still learning myself, like all of the different little nuances and expressions within polyamory.
All right. Now, I want people to also understand when we're talking about poly, it is not exclusive to the LGBTQIA plus
Oh no.
community. Poly, spans heterosexual um, uh, individuals as well. It's just that I know that you've had experience with that, and that was something that how you identified. And I think that we all have to be honest and open to what it is that makes us happy and how we identify ourselves, and not feel shame about it. That's why I
Mhm.
want you to at least talk about it, because I'm sure there are people out there that are watching this that identify as that, and they probably feel shame from it because they
I'm
do
sure.
not, because people don't understand it.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, I don't even know. It's probably more than a theory at this point, but I feel like a lot of cheating can be like eliminated if people were just to understand ethical non-monogamy just in general. Um,
Can you explain that a little bit so people understand what that actually means?
Ethical non-monogamy.
Yes.
I mean, it's basically like an agreement between two or more people that are in a partnership or relationship, to where one or two, or some of those people within a relationship have the freedom or the authority to explore things with other people outside of the relationship. So for example, if you and I were in a relationship and we wanted to explore ethical non-monogamy, then we would first have to communicate like what that really means to us, what that looks like for us, what are the boundaries of that thing. Once those are established, then we would have the freedom to say, or one of us would have, either of us would have the freedom to say, I find John really attractive and I like his vibe. I think I want to explore something with him. Like, how do you feel about that? And ideally you would be like, cool, I like John, or I would love to meet John, or go have fun with John and let me know how it is when you come back, blah blah blah. That, in a very small nutshell, is kind of the crux of ethical non-monogamy. It's all about communication, boundaries, and really being able to um feel jealousy, because jealousy does not go away in ethical non-monogamy. If anything, it probably is present more often. But it's the ability to feel jealousy and to be able to communicate it with your partner, as opposed to feeling jealousy of a partner and it affecting you in a negative way, and now you're lashing out or being dysfunctional within that, where you could just have a conversation about, I'm feeling this way because of whatever.
Got it. I mean, that makes total sense. I totally agree with you. I think that if people were more honest and open in their relationships, I think you would have a lot less cheating in the world. And I think that's really what it comes from. I mean, you have people that strictly believe that monogamy between mammals just can't happen. But I think if people were honest and open about how they really felt, or if they wanted to explore, who knows, your partner might want to explore as well. So if you guys can communicate and talk about that and experience that together, then, it can lead to some more healthier relationships. So we're getting close on time, and I just want to make sure I want to open the floor to you, that if there's anything else that you want to share before we leave. And if not, I always ask people, what words of wisdom can you leave with us before we sign off? So I open the floor to you.
Oh God, you should have prepared me for this. So I don't think there's anything else I want to add, maybe besides, go follow my YouTube. Bizarre Hot. Let's see. I think that's about it. I mean, so the Gerard Carmichael episode that I talked about on Tweet is a slice of that show. I left out all the other stuff that that is insane about this man. I just took that little excerpt. So please don't think I am in support of like any kind of, that is that little thing. But we must have a conversation about that show as a whole.
Well, listen, I think we are all in agreement for the conference call. We're going to actually do a whole entire episode, or maybe a series on that alone, because that is definitely worth exploring. I have some thoughts and opinions about that too, as well. So, yeah.
We should. As far as words of wisdom, I don't know. Money's in the mail. Money is in the mail.
Okay.
That's something I said this morning because of some manifestation type of things I got going on. Money is in the mail.
All right. So make sure that when you get your money in the mail, you send me a check as well.
Why gotta send you a check?
We friends. That's what we do.
You should be paying me because I'm, guest on the show.
Okay. All right. Oh man. Well, no, this was great. I learned so much today. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
All right, let's do that.
Yeah. So guys, thank you again for joining me for another amazing episode. So until I see you next time, Take care of yourself, be kind to others, and maintain a safe space. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for watching this show on Indecent Media. Now, if you're watching here on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and hit the notification button so that you can get notified when we drop new videos every week. See you guys next time.